Since the involvement of NASCAR superstars Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, and Justin Marks, the notoriety of the Cars Tour and its competitors has skyrocketed. The racing speaks for itself because it's true, grassroots, hard-nosed late model racing at its best. And we're here to bring that action to light. This is On Tour. Welcome back to On Tour. My name is Buddy Pulley, joined, of course, by my co-host, lead Cars Tour reporter for frontstretch.com, Chase Folsom, or as we know him on this channel as Chuck. And I guess I'm now officially the lead reporter for On Tour in the Big Brother Small Plate podcast, following Florence there.
Not much competition. Your competition is Seth, so
I'm definitely winning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, look, I got my 75th anniversary Darlington shirt on, and that hasn't even started yet. So
Wow.
That's cool. I just wanted to show off my shirt. It's cool. I like it.
All right, cool. Chuck's in the future, but we're going to talk about a race that's now happened in the past. But first, we're going to talk about the racetrack, Florence Motor Speedway, and the Cookout 225 that we attended last week. Chuck, tell me about Florence, man.
Well, it feels like an eternity ago, for starters.
It does, yes.
It feels like so long ago because so much has happened, at least for me. Since then, Florence is a cool little place. It's very hidden. You cannot see it from the road. You see this little sign that says Florence Motor Speedway, and you probably wouldn't think much of it if you drove by. Yeah. They at least put some gravel down on the driveway, so we're making progress there. It's last year there was no gravel. It was rough, but it's true. Like Florence is everything Hickory wishes it was.
Oh, yeah? Way to call it out.
It's like, I don't have a problem calling out Hickory. Hickory makes me mad. Hickory's catching strays and On Tour episodes, and we haven't raced there in over a month. No, it's got like this classic, old school, stuck in the 90s short track feel to it, but in a good way.
Yeah.
It's the only track I've ever been to. I haven't been to Berlin yet, so it's the only track I've ever been to that doesn't have a wall in the back straightaway. You just kind of
fall off the edge of the earth.
Yeah, you just kind of hope you're not back there. For the record, I asked Kyle Campbell, like, how far down there is it? And he was like, it's far enough that if you hit something, you're not going to get hurt. So take that for what it's worth.
I don't really know what that means. I don't know
that. That's the short explanation. The longer explanation is a distance I can't explain or demonstrate over this camera screen here.
It's an abyss. We'll call it that.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing back there except trees.
Yeah. I mean, Florence, so the first time I went to Florence was for the South Carolina 400 in 2022. And the amount of upgrades they have made since that night is astonishing. Their bathrooms, they've completely overhauled those. Their, just overall fan amenities have gotten so much better, as well as everything from a driver intro stage that they haul out onto the front straightaway. Like this racetrack, it treats these big late model races like the Cars Tour event they have, like the South Carolina 400 that they've adopted from Myrtle Beach. They treat them like big events, and that's something that I really appreciate, and you see it in the fan turnout. And I really hope Florence is seeing the fruits of that labor throughout the entire year, because they've done a hell of a job.
Yeah, and a more serious note, instead of me being a goofball, Steve Zacharias and his team at Florence are top notch in short track racing. They had fireworks shows, they had the stage with the screen. The only thing that messed up all night is they showed Trash Panda's Landon Huffman instead of Landon S. Huffman.
Yeah.
That was a little funny. And Landon had to tweet about it and say, guys, I am not in Florence. I'm driving home from Wake County. Shout out, they have this cool little thing out front too with the palm trees for all the South Carolina 400 winners.
That's also cool.
As that continues and grows, that is going to be like an iconic thing. There's only 4 of them right now, but can you imagine 10 years from now when there's 14 palm trees lined up with drivers' flags? That's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a good job of like bringing the moment together and creating it's almost they're creating an atmosphere. Like
Yeah.
the atmosphere has to be created by the racetrack, no matter how big the race is. That's why the Bristol night race is such a big deal because of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Florence does a great job of creating an atmosphere that the fans enjoy and appreciate, and there's nothing quite like it.
Definitely a first class facility for short track racing. So like I said, were at the Cookout 225. The pro late it's funny. The it is 100 laps for the pro late models and 125 for the Cars Tour late model stocks, which made up the Cookout 225. I thought that was a unique little combo of the races there. Anyway, let's take a look at the results from the second part of the Cookout 225, the late model stock Cars Tour.
Taking a look at your results from the Cookout 225, it was Ryan Millington picking up his first Cars Tour win since way back in Ace of 2020. Rounding out the podium was Brendan Queen and track regular Matt Cox. Connor Hall came home fourth with Mason Diaz, another top five. Minnie Tyrell a solid sixth place finish with Ryan Glinsky, another local, finishing in seventh. Connor Jones in eighth, Jacob Hefner in ninth, and in his return to the Cars Tour, Dale Earnhardt Jr. rounded out the top 10. Trayton Lapsevich in his first time ever on the F45s was 11th, with Bobby McCarty in 12th, Cade Brown in 13th. Wake County winner Landon Lewis down in 14th, and Ronnie Bassett Jr. in 15th. Donovan Strauss was 16th, with Cody Kelly in 17th. Chase Burrow was 18th, with Ryan Wilson 19th. And Truck Series regular Raja Caruth rounded out the top 20. A tough night for Brent Cruz. He comes home 21st, with Casey Kelly in 2nd. Michael Fossey in 22nd, Michael Fossey in 23rd, Brendan Pearson 24th, and his return from a suspension, Andrew Grady was 25th, Buddy Isles Jr. was 26th, with Chad McCumbee 27th, Landon S. Huffman was 28th, and Isabella Robusto, after crashing out early, was last in 29th.
So Chuck just enlightened me that they do that little combo of the race names between the pro late models and the late model stocks every race. And while I mull over that information, Chuck, tell me about Ryan Millington because it was a big night for him.
Ryan Millington, him and his family are one of the last, you could call them pioneers of the late model world, and specifically the late model stock world, that they do it as a family. Um, they find their own personal sponsors, and they work with what they have. They don't have a big company behind them backing them. It's them,
Yeah.
and they put together their own stuff, and they go out and they compete, and they're competitive all the time. He's had a really good year. Quietly had a really good year. Last month or so, he's been in position to win quite a few races, and things have not gone his way. He was so due for a win. Last time he won was his last and only Cars Tour win, actually, was at Ace Speedway in 2020, the first race back from the COVID break, actually. Um, it, it's kind of like when Ronnie won at Ronnie Bassett, when he won
Yeah.
at Hickory. It's nice to see one for the little guys. We
Yeah.
have Junior Motorsports, we have KHI, we have Nelson Motorsports, we have RNS. These are
Lee
big race
Pulliam.
teams.
Yeah.
Lee Pulliam. These are big race teams. So it's nice to see one for the little guy that goes out there and puts in maybe more work because
Yeah.
they're doing more with less. And Ryan's a really good guy, so it was really good to see.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the opportunities he's had this year. I mean, he led a ton of laps. I believe it was at Ace a couple weeks ago, and he led. Was it at both the Aces? He led a bunch of laps.
Led a bunch of laps at both aces, yeah.
Yes. And then also, of course, crossed the finish line first at Hickory, but did not get awarded the victory. So finally, Ryan Millington was able to put it back into victory lane, and actually, yours truly caught up with him after the race. So let's hear what Ryan had to say about the big win. Ryan, congratulations. You're a car store winner again. That's awesome. What's it like to get the win against such a stout field and such a big night for the series?
It means a lot. We worked hard for this one, man, all the way through from the beginning of the year. since 2016, we worked our tails off to try to get this and just perform at these big shows. And the past 2 months, we've really done it. So I'm proud of myself, and my dad, and Brandon, and everybody involved that's been able to give me what I got right now. So can't do it without them, and I'm extremely blessed and thankful to have them and them put me in the position that I'm in. So really thankful and proud of our efforts tonight.
What was that cat and mouse game like?
Yeah. I don't know. I could see where Minnie was at. I mean, he was really the only one I felt like I played cat and mouse with, but I saw where he was at, and when I tried to pass him on the bottom, I knew I wasn't going to make it happen without hurting my equipment. So I kind of set him up and trailed it off into turn one real deep one lap and got to the outside of him and never looked back after that. So it was a lot of fun and just proud of our efforts tonight.
All right. So with Ryan Millington's return to victory lane, we also saw a return of the F45 tire from the SD2 that we had been running earlier this season. Uh, a much welcomed change in the Cars Tour. Chuck, tell us about the F45 and what you thought of the racing we saw with it this weekend.
So basically the construction of the F45 is a lot less durable than that of the ST2. It's not made to last forever. So you have a lot of tire wear. That's how we've seen the races in the past in the Cars Tour, like at New River and at Florence, and races in like the South Carolina 400, where you will have guys like Butterbean who fall way to the back, save their stuff, and then suddenly they're there at the end of the race. With the ST2, you didn't have that because the tire was almost too durable. And in a way, it contributed to the insane racing we were seeing.
Yeah.
Um, but and there was a lot of people that didn't mind the ST2s. There was a lot of people that did, but overall, the general issue with the ST2s is that they were getting different tire codes. You can't have 6 different tire codes among 19 cars like we saw at Wake County. That's not fair because one tire code might be half a second to a whole second different on the time clock than another tire code with no adjustments. So being back on the F45s felt like it leveled the playing field. It's not an ideal situation because you're making a really big change right in the middle of a really intense championship battle.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's had an effect on it.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a little bit. Um, it's tough. They're in a lose-lose situation, right? Because if you don't change the tire, you have a battle that might end up being decided by who gets what tire code. But if you do change it, you're throwing a whole new rule in the game, basically with 4 races left. So
I
the series
think
is in a tough spot, but I feel like they had to at least make it fair for everyone.
exactly. And that's the thing. Was the right decision. Yes, it throws a wrench into things and may help some and hurt others. But but at the end of the day, everybody's on the same tire. It's a tire that they've used for years, and it's a level playing field. It's like the playoffs for the NASCAR Cup Series, and guys that you argue like, oh, this guy should have gotten in, but we have the win in your in system. We all woke up in February at Daytona knowing the system and knowing what you needed to do to make the playoffs. These guys, they wake up in the morning, they know they're going to have a tire that's going to be equal throughout the field, and they got to go figure out how to make it work. Whereas the SD2, it was a mixed bag. You never knew what you were going to get. So yeah, it's like the ST2 was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. So, never thought I'd get a Forrest Gump reference on here. Yeah, I did. Let's be real. Yeah, I mean, the racing we
Lieutenant
saw.
Dan.
Yeah, the racing we saw at Florence, it was it was quintessential late model racing. And some people, it might not be their cup of tea. Just the conserving of the tires and the cat and mouse games that were being played. But the true racer, like you and I, and a lot of late model fans, most late model fans out there have a high racing IQ. They enjoyed this race on Friday night.
I know where some of those comments stem from, so I'm not gonna elaborate too much. If you really want to know, come find us off camera. But um, yeah, I mean, it's good to see that it was good to see it be back in the driver's hands, right? And it was actually really cool. You could tell how much they were conserving tires. We were standing in turn 2 at one point,
Yeah.
and you didn't need earplugs or anything.
No.
You could have been standing there with your baby because they were all out of the throttle. There was hardly any noise whatsoever. They were just
It sounded like my Jetta going down the road. I mean, honestly.
yeah, exactly. So listening to that was really cool. Just how early they were backing out of the throttle. The pace slowed down a ton.
Yeah.
And it showed who knew what they were doing and who didn't. So welcome change for sure. And it's gonna race different every week. Like
Yeah.
Florence isn't in a way, Florence is almost an anomaly. It's not going to be that bad every
Yeah.
week because we know Florence is a cheese grater, just like New River. Those two tracks, they sit at the beach or close to the beach. They get sandblasted all year long, and that makes it really abrasive. That's why you chew tires. Whereas even a Hickory, for people that don't know, the climate and the sand and how close they are to the beach actually has a lot to do with it because the track
Yeah.
surface of Hickory is nearly just as old, but it doesn't get sandblasted year round, so it's not
It's all
as
about
abrasive.
it's all about the region and what kind of aggregate
Langley
they
too.
use.
Sorry.
It's all about the region and what kind of aggregate they use in the asphalt, and that very much depends on where you are in the country. If you're down by the beach, like a Florence or like a New River, they're going to use different things. Like they're going to have a lot more sand. Seashells are going to be mixed in. Anything they can mix in to make this asphalt. Whereas a place like Hickory, you're not going to have that as much. It's more closer to the mountains. I feel like there's not as many just random material that's gonna cheese grade these tires like there is at the beach. So I mean, if this is gonna be an ever changing and ever chasing, uh, uh, I guess, it's a way of racing for the rest of the year.
Yeah, where I was kind of going with that before I got off on a tangent was we go to South Boston, Tri County, and North Wilkesboro for the final three. Those are nowhere near abrasive.
Yeah,
Those are three really fast, low tire wear, high speed racetracks. North Wilkesboro, that's a topic for another day. We might have an issue there, but at least the next two, it's going to be a whole lot less about tire conservation, but everybody's going to be on the same stuff, and they're not going to be on like rocks.
yeah.
So the track will take rubber and it will change.
Absolutely. And you mentioned North Wilkesboro. We did actually talk to Dale Earnhardt Jr. and mentions how the tire will race at North Wilkesboro and what a potential, inkling to what a game plan might be for the tire there. We talked to Dale Earnhardt Jr. We also talked to Connor Hall and Butterbean about racing on being back on the F45. Let's hear what they had to say.
I like the 45 because it gives me a shot to try to be smart about how I drive the car and protect the tire, so that at the end of at the end of 80 laps, I might have a better grip on the racetrack and better tire to be able to work forward. And at other tracks, the 45 actually is a tire that can run really hard throughout the entire race. So you don't drive that tire the same way at Florence like you might at Tri-County or somewhere else, or South Boston. And so it's really track dependent. And we've all lived on this 45 forever, so we're very comfortable and confident in that tire. But we were trying to help Goodyear move forward in a new direction and evolve into a bit of a new platform tire wise, and there's still some work to do. So I like tires that wear out. I like tires you got to be smart with. I like tires that you can't drive like a lunatic on. And so the 45 is a good fit for me. If we were coming here to race tomorrow, I'd rather run the 45, but it's just my preference. And Hoosier can build that tire. And so, but if we're going to go to Wilkesboro, we can't run the 45 there. It won't live. We have to have a different tire. And so it's track dependent, really, on what kind of tire you really need.
Inconsistencies aside with the SC2s, from a racing standpoint, did you enjoy being back on the 45s tonight?
I like the 45. I would say the most of the older most of the older late model stock car guys would like the 45 just because it's what we, grew up racing on and just kind of developed our craft. So I'm a big fan. I just told Hoosier, I said A+. It didn't go our way, but at least I think everybody can say that, that there's no room for anybody to say ill will.
Loved it. Should have been on it all year.
Yeah.
It just brought back so much play to the driver's hand and actually could race side by side and not hit each other and able to feel the car. I loved it. So hopefully we'll stay on.
Chuck, you alluded to the fact that the tire might be good for some and not as good for others as far as the championship goes. One guy that might have been bit by the tire change was Brent Cruz. He had another rough night at Florence, really never really showed up, and now sits fourth in the points, back behind Minnie Tyrell and in front of Ryan Millington, all three of them third, fourth, and fifth, 30 plus points back. Butterbean and Connor Hall stay 3 points apart. Chuck, we still got a hell of a championship battle with 3 races to go.
Yeah, for Brent, that they're going to be kicking themselves so much over Wake County now.
Yeah.
Because you got to think they lost out on 11, 12, 13 points, something like that night. They could easily still be in this thing. And it's not, Minnie's 30 back, Brent's 36, Ryan's 39. They're not out of this by any means. We've seen a lot of changes, and we still got 3 races to go at 3 kind of unpredictable racetracks. We've seen some crazy Tri-County races, especially. Connor Hall was not very good there in the spring. But they don't control their own destiny anymore. Specifically, Brent. He was in position to control his own destiny for the rest of this title fight, and he lost that. This tire is going to favor the top 2. So those other 3 have an uphill battle ahead of them.
I'll put it like this. I asked Butterbean, I said, about the F45, I said, did it feel like home? And he very emphatically said yes. We should have been on it the whole time.
Well, okay, so I want to ask you, who do you think of those 2? Because, there's still only 3 points ahead of them. Breaking this down by track, the Nelson team has a lot of laps around South Boston, and Connor has a lot of laps more recently than Butterbean around South Boston. Tri-County, Butterbean's led, what? I think he's led
a lot of laps.
I think he's led like 250 consecutive laps there or something like that. I think he's led. Yeah. So, and then you have Wilkesboro, where we don't really know what we're going to have with this tire. So who has the upper hand here?
I think Butterbean does. I think for multitude of reasons. We have 3 races left: Sobo, Tri-County, and North Wilkesboro. 2 out of 3 of those, I think Butterbean definitely has the upper hand. For multiple reasons. He's won at Wilkesboro before. He finished second there, third or fourth there in the race we just had. Yeah.
Well, technically, he still finished 5th.
Okay.
Somebody was reinstated.
It's a whole, that's a whole can of worms that's in the past, thank goodness. But anyway, he had a good run at Wilkesboro in the spring. He's won there before. New service, old service, doesn't matter. He has more laps than Connor does. Connor wrecked. So, Connor, he doesn't have many laps at North Wilkesboro. Butterbean's dominated Tri-County lately. 2 out of 3, I think it's in Butterbean's favor. We go back, Connor Hall. I call him the Matador. He's got a target on his back, in my opinion. So I think, and there's a whole lot more for him to lose than for anyone else to lose. And to add this into it, Butterbean's got confidence, dude. He's been on a heater the past few weeks. We talked to him last week. He talked about how consistent he is and how they're finally putting races together. And it seems like, in a combination with this tire and how comfortable and how much he loves this tire, I think it could be Butterbean's championship to lose, even though he is still trailing by 3.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Yes, Connor wrecked at Wilkesboro. That car was still almost running top 10 looking like a modified. We don't know what they had. That they very well could have had a winning piece
They could
at
have,
the last time we were at Wilkesboro.
but
And
they didn't. But here's the thing: they don't have the laps with a car that's put together. They don't know. They weren't able to gather as
I will
much
again
data.
play devil's advocate and say they went through 4 different test days. Everybody did at Wilkesboro. I think everybody knows they're going to do it again with this tire. There's no way they don't go test with this tire. They will have a full test day, a full shakedown day. Everybody's going to know what they have when they go to Wilkesboro. And as for Tri-County, yes, they ran bad there when we were last there in May. Need I remind you what happened the last time that car, maybe not that driver, but that car was at that track on this tire?
It's fair.
They won 30 grand in one of them and they finished third in the other. So
With Landon Huffman.
with
In case
Landon
y'all
Huffman.
didn't know.
So shout out Landon. So I don't know. It's compelling for sure, and I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah. We did. I actually caught up with Butterbean after the race and talked to him a little bit more about his battle with Connor Hall at Florence. Well, their run through the field together at Florence, and what more he needed at the end of the day. What was that like with you and Connor? Were you guys kind of looking at each other like, who's going to go first?
Yeah, I think Connor and I know how good the other one is on these low grip stuff. So like, I'm like, if Connor's up there, I need to get up there. And I feel like, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I feel like, he saw me riding farther back, so he dropped back, and then we're going forward at the same time. So they kind of really can't script it any better. Like, Connor and I have raced together our whole life, it seems like, and to have us two going for a championship is, at the time, of course, we're competitors, and we're like, we want to beat each other, but probably 20 years from now, we'll look back on it and realize how cool it was probably to battle being from the same area and the same track. And, the odds of that happening for people just don't happen. So to be in this position or do it against each other is pretty cool, I guess.
What more did you need there at the end?
I think just track position. I got the second there. My stuff was burned up. So just maybe if I'd have gotten the lead quicker or restarted fourth instead of third on the top there, that might have helped me get the second quicker. So just little things like that.
Frontstretch.com is where you'll find all your racing content in one place for free. They have it all from NASCAR to F1 to IndyCar, grassroots racing, and even iRacing. Front Stretch has you covered with daily news for every series, weekly columns, and even on-site coverage at every NASCAR and Cars Tour event. Head over to frontstretch.com, subscribe to their YouTube page, and give them a follow on X to get your daily fix on all things motorsports.
As always, big shout out to frontstretch.com for allowing us to use the content that I get for them and our show. If you want to see more of our Cars Tour or Grassroots content over there, go to frontstretch.com or Frontstretch Grassroots on YouTube. If you want to see all the NASCAR stuff, that's on the regular Frontstretch YouTube, and again, frontstretch.com. We got some big things coming. I keep mentioning that. I promise they will be here by the end of the year. We're planning some stuff over on that side. So I appreciate you guys supporting me over there. And be sure to support us here too, because Buddy's cooking up some good stuff for the channel.
I am doing that, and I want to thank Big Motor Small Blade for sending me to the racetrack, so I'll give myself a pat on the back for that one. Chuck, to close this out for Florence, what is your question of the week?
So we're gonna do a Dale Jr. theme here.
All right.
He
We
ran
didn't
his
talk
son.
about. I guess we should talk about Dale Jr. real quick.
Well, okay, let's do that before
right.
I get into the question of the week.
Yeah. He had a top 10 run. What bit him is qualifying. What's bit him several times before is qualifying, and those JRM cars just don't qualify well. Doesn't matter if there's a 3 painted on the side or an 8.
Yeah, you can't qualify 22nd. It puts him in a box, right? He has to save as much tire as possible at that point because he's not going to drive forward and have anything. So I think they were better than their result. They were coming to the front. And they got hung up behind Cade Brown for probably 15 laps, and that kind
Yeah.
of killed him. I think more than anything, he learned some stuff for the 400. Right? He ran the top success. He mentioned that to me. I don't know that that'll be in the show. So if you want to see that quote, go check out the full interview over on Front Stretch Grassroots that I did
Yeah.
with Dale. But he mentioned he ran the top successfully for the first time, right? He hadn't done that before. We've seen every time we go to Florence, Dale kind of just hugs the bottom. He's always on the bottom and he's there at the end. But I feel like having that tool in his back pocket might come useful at the 400 here later this year.
And let's be clear.
And the
I
temperature is
wonder.
way different too, right? It
I
was
think,
hot.
yeah, and also give a shout out to Kevin Harvick as well. We didn't talk about him. He raced the pro late model race, finished what, 7th, 8th. He had a great run going. I think he used his stuff up there at the end. I think a lot of him using his stuff up came from dusting off the top for the late model stock guys, because he was the first one up there in the pro late model race, and then a lot of other guys migrated there towards the end of the pro late model race. From the jump, the top was ready to go in the late model stock race.
Yeah. So it was cool to see the track widen out like that. I mean, it's always cool to see Dale run the Sundrop car. It's
Yeah.
iconic. He's having fun with it, right? And that's,
Yeah.
as long as he's having fun, he's gonna keep coming back, and it's good for the sport. He did say he feels like it's not as big. I laughed. He said, "I feel like it's not that big of a deal anymore. It's past the first couple times." I'm thinking to myself, Dale, the entire
Still a pretty
facility
big deal.
is here to see you race. It's still
There's
a pretty
a
big deal.
there's a sea of green out there.
Yeah, it's I I think it's just maybe it doesn't feel like it's big of a deal to him, right?
Yeah.
In a way, probably
That's
the
good though. He
promotion
feels like
the
one of the
promotion
guys.
side probably doesn't make it as big of a deal.
Yeah. So yeah, Dale Jr. We'll see him. We'll see him back again later on this year. That ain't the last we'll see of Dale Jr. on this show. So, looking forward to the 400 in the fall. Chuck, now, what is your question of the week?
All right, so we've seen obviously the Sundrop car. We've seen the black and gold Bass Pro Shops car. We've seen the Mom and Pop's car. If you had to pick a Dale Jr. scheme for him to run on a late model stock car, what is it?
Is it okay? Does it have to be a Dale Jr. scheme, or can it be a Dale Earnhardt scheme? Because the Bass Pro Shops car is a Dale Earnhardt car.
I'll allow it.
Okay. You already know the answer to this question.
I know. I know the answer.
The Peter Max car, man. I want to see someone run the damn Peter Max car. Someone did it in the car store throwback race a couple years ago, and shout out to him. But I'll give you another one. I think it'd be absolutely iconic. He's got the trademark back. Put me a Bud number 8 back on the racetrack.
That'd be cool.
That'd
I
be
think
pretty
he's saving
cool.
that for Xfinity start.
No, I don't think he is, because he said in an interview, he said on the download that Bristol will probably be his final Xfinity race. Breaking news right here. If you haven't listened to Dale Jr. download, he said probably. So I mean,
I don't know if I believe probably.
I mean, yeah, Dale Jr. can be a little full of shit sometimes.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh God, what's my answer?
And that's cement with love.
What's my answer? I mean,
I-
the obvious is saying the Wrangler car, right?
Man, look, I love the Rango
It's so
car.
boring
It's been
though.
done.
Like that's so basic.
It's been done. It's been
So
done.
basic.
Let it go. He's done the damn Wrangler car before.
Yeah, I know, and he won in it. He won't run it again because he won in it last
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Yeah.
You know what? I am gonna go with a junior car. No, that one's kind of been done too. Let's go with the 04 500 car.
That'd be
I
cool.
like that one. I'm fond of that one.
That'd be a cool one for sure. South Boston is next for the car store here in a couple of weeks. Chuck, what are we looking at over in Sobo?
High speeds, run on the top, run the apron, not a lot of tire wear.
Yep.
So last time we were there, actually, Deke led every lap. So from second starting spot. um, ah, I've never been, so I'm excited. I've never been to South Boston. It'll be my first time there. I think we may see a winner outside of who we're saying are the main championship contenders right now. That's my prediction.
Got you. Well, all right. So we're gonna see a little bit of everything, a little low and slow, smooth, smooth as fast, high, wide, and handsome. Put your balls on the dash. Let's go to South Boston, baby.
What everybody just said.
Yeah, I think that'll do it for the show. Again, shout out to Florence Motor Speedway, an awesome facility. If you guys haven't ever been, the South Carolina 400 is coming up here to at the middle end of November. So make sure you make a trip down if you can. And as always, support your local short tracks. We'll see you next time.